out there in celebrity creators land. Kathy, how are you doing tonight?
Brian, I am doing awesome as always. How about you?
Doing absolutely terrific. I cannot wait. Mamma mia, what a show we have for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is
Yay!
going to absolutely, well, I don't want to use another person's term, but it fits. This is going to rock. This is going to rock. Forget
Right, yeah,
about it. I'm
we
taking the
don't want
guy,
to
all
take
of his
any of his
lines now.
taglines.
Well, let's get right on to it. What do you say, Kathy? Shall I just bring this guy on, do you think?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
am as excited to have him as everybody else and you as well. Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Yes, sir. Imagine taking the number one fear, and guess what? It's not death. It's public speaking. Imagine taking the number one fear of public speaking and making it your number one asset. Abset. That was good. Maurice DiMino, the gentleman that's coming on very soon in front of your camera live right here on the Celebrity Creator Show, helps you do just that. He trains executives and entrepreneurs how to use their presentations as an income generating tool for their product, service, or charity. He has developed an easy to use template so that you can be passionate, poised, and prosperous with your presentations. And Kathy and I can attest to this, as you will see during the show. We have been through his program. It is phenomenal. He has taken his latest book, The Art of Public Speaking, and made it into a boot camp where participants craft their presentations right there on the spot. He has given over 1,500 presentations in over 5 years, and that number is probably greater. This is an old bit of information I grabbed on the road, and has battle tested techniques for you to kill from the stage with a profitable, passionate, and powerful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome the Sicilian mentor himself, Maurice DiMino. Hey, Maurice, welcome to the show.
Hey,
Hey,
so good to be
Maurice.
here. I like that technique, looking over this way. Hey guys, how's it going? Brian, how are you? Kathy, how are you?
We're doing awesome and so excited to have you tonight.
It's a pleasure to be here on the Celebrity Creators with both you and Brian here. Fantastic, and I love this venue. There's nothing, Sicilians are very animated. They're very passionate. So people will see the passion in the animation. So I love this format. I love your show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's exciting because you have been with us here before,
Yep.
just not in 2012. So what a great time to be here celebrating a new year and something new for you too. We were really excited when Brian and I heard what the topic was going to be, and that's discover your $1 million message. And with the economy and everything that's going on, who wouldn't want to deliver a $1 million message? So we are really excited to get started.
Yeah, beautiful. That's the new go forward for 2012. Definitely.
We love it, and we want to deliver $1 million messages for sure. You know, one of the things that I want to ask is, are there specific steps to creating a message that indeed is profitable and passionate and powerful, that $1 million message?
Well, Kathy, definitely, and I think what we got to do is we got to start from the beginning. We have to move back a little bit from what our message is, and let's talk about fundamentals here. I'm a big believer in having a strong foundation, and that is exactly what is your message. Sure, we're going to create a $1 million message and what have you, but I always like to start at the beginning. What is that message? Let's get a concrete, and not only concrete, but a clear message. Clarity is everything. Once we're clear on our message, exactly what we want to have the audience, and our audience could be one-on-one or one-to-many, but as soon as we're clear about what we want our audience to receive from us, then we can move on to a full-blown message. So if I could stress anything here is, let's build a solid building block, solid foundation, and have what exactly is your message? Like with the celebrity creators, what is your message? But when somebody has a product, a service, or even a charity, or even now new clients that I'm working with, is they have an inspirational message. What is that message? What exactly, what do you want to speak about? A lot of people say, I want to go out there and I want to change people's lives. Great, that's great, but exactly what is your technique? What exactly do you want to convey to your audience? So it all comes down to clarity. I believe that's probably the strongest building blocks anyone with a product, service, or charity can start with.
You know what? And I think oftentimes that's, at least I know, and I can speak for myself, when I have attended some events, there doesn't appear to be a real clear message when you're hearing from the individual that's up on stage. And obviously that's not everybody. So oftentimes you have to gather more information either on a one-on-one conversation at the back of the room or asking other people. So that's what's really phenomenal about the kind of program that you teach and have put together, because you start from the bottom and the base of the platform and lift people up so that they have clarity in the message that they're providing to the audience. So that's exciting.
Well, definitely, and if I may, what people, and we'll give them a little taste of the boot camp right now. I mean, that's how we start the boot camp, is what is your message? And I call it having a log line. And what I suggest people to do is, if they could boil down what their message is in 1 to 2 sentences, 1 to 2 sentences. It goes back to the old adage of, if you can't write your idea on the back of my business card, you do not have an idea. So that's the same thing. How can you convey to the person standing next to you what exactly is, what is it that you do? What is your message? And I call it having a log line. And the interesting thing, you made mention of when you go to other events, you hear people speaking, you're not quite clear what they're talking about. Well, I feel what's happening is they want to share so much information with you, they start throwing tangents at you. They start throwing blind alleys at you. And since we're in the audience, we don't have their script in front of us, we get lost in what I call this verbal journey. So if for all our people out there, be clear on your message, then create what I call this log line, is 1 to 2 sentences of what your message is, and then, and this is key now, every word from your hello to your goodbye always relates back to this log line, so that you are bringing them on this journey, on this verbal journey, and you're not going to lose people along the way. Sure, you could tell like offshoot stories, but when you say that offshoot story, does it still relate to your log line? So yes, it's all about clarity, and yeah, when you go to a presentation, and also I want to stress this with my techniques, it's also one-on-one too. You don't want your prospect, the people sitting in your audience, you want them to walk away with what was that about? They should be clearly, saying back to you what your message is. And you know what I tell people? You know that you won when people walk out and you're milling about the lobby and they're bringing up your catchphrases, they're bringing up your slogans and all that, because you made it quite clear to your audience who and what you're about.
Absolutely, and what you're saying is exactly what you teach at your boot camp. And in fact, we opened with your slogan and your catch lines. I used it over and over. I wore it out before you even got a chance to use it yourself, but that's because you did such a great job ingraining it in our minds. So
Right.
you practice what you preach.
Of course you got to practice what you preach. My log line is, how do you take the number one fear, public speaking, and make it work for you as opposed to against you? Everything that I work on, be it my website, be it on collateral material, things that I sent out, posts, whatever I have, be it on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Facebook, or Twitter, that is, it's all based upon that. So now people here, you improved. You said you have a clear understanding of what my message is, and now you're going. This is the point. Now the two of you can go and you say, hey, we just met with Maurice. Oh, what is he about? Now you're going to give that person a clear indication of what I'm about. So what we're doing here is we're creating raving fans.
Now you used to
Let me just interject something here, if I can, real
Sure.
quick. Brian, we've got one of our viewers asking, was that L-O-G log line you said?
Yeah, thank you so much for the listeners. Yeah, logline. That comes back from my advertising days. I worked up with the #1 advertising agency in New York City, and that's what they used. They had a logline. In other words, every collateral piece of material that they used was based upon one. Well, they called it the unique selling proposition, the USP. So what I'm doing is I'm borrowing from every discipline. I'm doing what I call a little R&D. And of course, being Sicilians, we know what R&D stands for. Do you guys remember what R&D stands for?
Oh yes, research and development.
No. R&D stands for rob and duplicate. So I rob and duplicate from the best of them. So for our listener out there, it's LOG logline. And again, craft it out. This is not something I want you to have instantly in the next 2 seconds. or in the next even 2 minutes. I mean, it took me some time to develop my log line. And once I've had it in place, let me tell you, the clouds parted, the angels sang, and I was able to write copy, posts, everything was able to all come out at once. So yes, LOG line, log line.
That's great.
Thank you.
So getting back to Kathy's question that you never answered so rudely, Maurice. No, you just went back to the beginning. Just kidding, just kidding. Okay, now on this Brady Bunch thing, you either look straight up or you look that way.
Not this way.
All right. We
All
got
right,
the Brady
sorry,
Bunch
go on.
stories
I love
going on.
it.
But yeah, Kathy had asked before, and this leads right into it, the log line being the intro part of it. She asked, were there specific steps to creating a message? And this is
right.
your entire boot camp right here, that are profitable, passionate, and powerful. What are the other specific steps that you go through to get people to that point of a profitable, passionate, and powerful message?
All right, so the first one we developed is having a clear message. Now let's take them on this verbal journey. Every presentation, and be it as something that you do it in front of a live audience or online. And when I say online, not only online what we're doing right here on the Celebrated Creators, but also online. We're online at the supermarket, at your coffee shop, and all that. Because guess what? We're presenting every chance we can when we have a product, service, or charity. And what we got to develop is a clear story, a clear verbal journey to take our listener, to take our prospect on. So we have an open, a body, and a close. And I'm just using traditional speech terms, if you will. But for the opening, if I may share with you guys real quickly, just to give a quick schematic, it's got to get the people's attention. Again, borrowing from Madison Avenue, borrowing from my many years of, you said 1,500 presentations, and that's true, and then some. It's probably more than that. I realize this is that in the first few moments, if I don't engage the audience, I'm not going to be able to grab them later on. They just listened to my intro, and now they're asking the question, why should I listen to you, be it consciously or subconsciously? So I have to address that. And one of the things we teach at the boot camp is called the way, the W-A-Y. Who are you? And it's a quick, I don't want to say quick, but it's a story of who you are. Why should I listen to your rags to riches story, your zero to hero story, your Oprah moment? We have all these different stories for it. But again, it's a way to engage the audience. One thing we have to understand is this: is that before we move anyone towards our product, our service, or even our charity, we've got to move them first towards us, and we got to speak from the heart. And one way we could do that is to let them know that we are human beings, that we've had some disadvantages in our life, and look, we've overcome it. And what I call a forget about it moment is that if you could use in this how you got over that bad times or disadvantaged times, if you could show how you use your product, your service, your charity, how people gain success from it, that is a total forget about it. So I mean, I don't want to go through the whole template here, but we have to take our prospects on a verbal journey. We have to be clear with it. We have to engage them throughout, and we have to be clear on what's the opening. In other words, what am I about to share with my audience? Then in the body, we're going to use our golden nuggets to share facts and features that we think our audience would be interested in. And then in the conclusion, in the close, there's the call to action. And again, we have to be clear about that as well. So, it always comes back to, I seem to be redundant here, but it has to come to clarity. For every portion of the speech that you give, you want to be clear with it. Because again, my feeling is this: I do not want to create clients. I don't want clients. I want raving fans. I want to have this legion of people that go out there and they know exactly what I'm about, who I'm about, what's my product, what's my services, so that when people say, so, hey, you went to that Sicilian boot camp, can you tell me about it? And that, boom, and they just light up and they just give all the information. So now, did I answer Kathy's question?
Yes, and you do that, and you do that.
Okay, cool.
You do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming back to answer Kathy's question at last.
My pleasure. If there's anything, did I miss a question from the last show? Maybe we can go back to 2011. I think it was April of 2011. As a
matter of fact, I was checking my notes. No, just kidding.
It's been a while.
It has.
Been a while.
Yeah.
All right, Kathy, go ahead. I stole yours
Well,
back.
so now, Brian, he has to answer your question. You go, my friend. It's your turn.
Oh,
You're
goody.
up.
All right, the test. The pressure's on, Maurice. Can he do it?
Yeah.
I love this one because I always wondered this, and you taught this at your boot camp. I just got to say, everyone watching, if you haven't been to Maurice's boot camp, this isn't just for speaking on stage or in front of the camera. It's on the phone. It's in person. The template works no matter what venue you are at, if it's a venue at all. He should be called the Sicilian magician, not mentor, because of what we saw, the way he transformed people that were literally dripping with sweat and knees knocking. And they ended up getting standing ovation because they deserved it, because of what Maurice did for them, transformed. Anyway, I digress a bit, but can't say enough about presentations at Cell Boot Camp.
Would you just ask the question?
I'm giving him time to think about it. Oh.
He doesn't even know what it is yet.
But when folks are on stage, speakers, presenters, etc., and then when we're sitting in the seats, we often wonder, like, my gosh, how do you remember all this stuff? If you have PowerPoint slides, great, you have something to look down to maybe. But I often see a lot of speakers that have nothing. Is it okay to have notes when you're up there speaking? I mean, is that distracting? And is it okay to actually look at them during your talk?
You know, that's a great question. That's a question that I get a lot with my one-on-one clients when they have to deal going in front of their clients for their proposals and their presentations. And my rule of thumb is this: if your presentation is less than, let's say, 7 to 10 minutes, let me tell you something. There's not a lot of, I look at it, there's not a lot of content there, so you should be speaking from your heart. You should know your content. You should be able to practice it. For anything longer than that, I see no problem at all. Yes, when I do my boot camp of 3 days, sure, I use my PowerPoint as a teleprompter, if you will. You know, things are written there, and I can go off on it. But I do have my notes present in the front of the room, right by my laptop for me to check, because I believe this, and people have different schools of thought on this. I would rather make sure that the audience sees and hears that I'm giving them the correct information. So if I'm quoting something, if I'm giving facts or figures, I don't want to be searching or have them feel that I'm searching for that information. Then it puts doubt in their mind. And what I feel is that if I go to my notes and I'm reading from it, at least I give the audience peace of mind, like, okay, this has got to be, you know, true because he's reading it. So I have no problems with notes. And again, the one thing I teach is, in particular, with the golden nuggets, should be information that you're so well versed on. That's why it's the gold. This is something that is of interest to you. That if I were to take away your notes and I would say, okay, talk about fire hydrants, you would be able to talk for a half an hour on fire hydrants. So, and then just due to the nature, and then that's again, not to keep going back to the template, but the template is all it is mile markers. Like, consider it mile markers. What happens in between, that is up to you. So what I suggest people to do is, and this is how I started, is I would write out the entire presentation. Then per paragraph, I would write one sentence that would relate to that paragraph, that if I read that sentence, I could be able to do the paragraph. Then from that one sentence, I would pick out key words that would fuel me to remember that paragraph. So if I see a word, I could speak a paragraph. So my notes, if you will, is really a skeleton. It's really not notes. It's just a bunch of key words, key phrases. Maybe I'll write out an entire quote, or maybe I'll write out entire statistics so that I have it right, so that I'm not bumbling and looking for words. So what I suggest to people when they're first starting out, yes, have notes, but have these like cliff notes, these really boiled down notes with just keywords and what have you. But then the funny thing is that when you do this a lot, and this is one thing we should talk about, is that public speaking is a craft. You do get better at it. And as you're doing these presentations, with the miraculous thing that happens is that you're going to notice that, oh my gosh, I did the whole thing without notes. I just clicked through my PowerPoint. I took a quick glance at my laptop, my little prompter laptop, and I was able to speak forever. And in fact, I had to pull myself back in, get back, keep on track, or I would have went over time. So again, use notes as a starting point, but then again, be well versed in the, again, I'm going to say the template, because the template is guideposts. As you hit these guideposts, it will remind you what to do next. You get to speak from the heart from that point forward. It'll take you to the next guidepost. and so on and so forth. So yes, it is a process, it is a craft, and it can be learned. And to answer your question, yes, you can use notes. There was a half-hour version of answering your
Woohoo!
Yes, okay, the answer is yes.
Wait, I have to throw this in. Now, you guys probably can't relate, okay?
Okay, what's that?
But you know, I have to wear reading.
Don't worry, I got my glasses right here, ready to rock and roll.
So I've got to I have to say, if I had to do the whole presentation in notes, this is what I'm thinking. Oh my, how can I do 22 font, right? So I can see it without my reading glasses. And I would have to have somebody standing next to me peeling the pages off, right? So I was totally thrilled to hear about, you know, just doing the lines or like bullet points.
Right.
So that made me feel a lot better. So I only need like 250 pages instead of 1,000.
Exactly. And make sure that, you know, use like 72 font so that it's one word per page. Landscape, and then you go to a good 115 font. So they can see it out in outer space.
But I'm serious. I was thinking, oh my gosh, you know, okay, using notes is great, and you know, now that I cannot see where diddly squat, I'm thinking I'm gonna have like this, you know, a huge stack. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And another thing that makes it nicer, because of your template approach, Maurice, I think is absolutely brilliant, because you always hammer home it's more important that you get out the message than the details. You're the only one that know the details, and we're up there sweating the details. My gosh, I forgot to dot that I on that one. And the only person that know the details are the speaker. As long as the message is true, like you said, you just start rolling on. You don't even realize, and you're going over time, but you've got the message that's going out. If you harp on that and concentrate on that, which we do in your boot camp, it just flows right through. It makes it so easy. That's why you're a magician, my friend, because you can transform people the way they get up on stage, and then they just forget about that. The message, that's it. Speak from the heart. That's what you kept saying. And it works. It's awesome.
Speak from the heart. Sorry, it works. I mean, it truly is amazing. You know, you make mention of these transformations we have at the boot camp, but it is a miracle to see what happens. Because I think what you know, if I could say something, when we present, when we get in front of a person or many people, we feel as human beings that we have to do something to present. And my thing is, guess what? That something does not exist. There's not anything you have to do extra. If you're talking to your friends in a conversation, one-on-one, or you know, a whole bunch of friends, guess what? It's the same thing. You're using the same techniques that you would be speaking to your friends as you would be speaking to a room at a convention center. So, you know, and how you're relating to your friends is, you know, like what I'm doing now. I'm using hand gestures, I'm using facial expressions and all that, and I'm being me, and I'm conveying that quite clearly, and I'm speaking from my heart. And you know, I have no notes in front of me, and again, I believe that my message is getting across, and so your guys' message is getting across. So just speak from your heart, and don't think that there's something extra you got to do when we speak or present our message.
Well, let me tell you where I'm going with that.
Where are you going with that?
I can speak for me, and this is what I always think. I've got so much stuff going on in my head, right? And there's a joke about something about your hummingbird hiney overloading your mouth or something, but I always feel like I'm thinking so fast that I can't always spit it out when I'm ready to spit it out. So oftentimes when I'm trying to convey something, even like now, and I've done this on the show, I'll go, because it's like I'm trying to catch up. And I know it's extremely important if you're going to come across very professional when you're on stage doing a presentation, do you break that kind of habit?
Yeah, how do you break the and ah habit? First off, the ums and ah, and also the crutch words, you know, like, so, that type of thing. First off, let me tell people out there that, again, we're not looking, and Brian said it, and I say it at my boot camp, we're not looking for perfection here. And then again, by putting that onus on us, you know, to cut down the ums and ahs, guess what? We're going to and ah so much more because our brain is concentrating on that. So the first thing I tell people is, don't worry about it. The other thing I tell them is to slow down. Kathy, you're right. We think at 600 words, a minute, and we only speak at 150 words a minute. So of course we crowd in all those words at once, and just to sort it out all out, just to kind of give us a moment of pause, we and we ah. So if we just slow down our talking, slow down our thinking, and again, just present whatever that particular message is right then and there, that particular point, and just deliver it slowly. In fact, what I suggest people to do this when they practice at home, I want them, even people that are sitting there right now, I want you to imagine you're practicing at home and imagine yourself practicing as slow as you can. Now that you got that picture in mind, when you do it, do it as twice as slow as that. Really slow yourself down. And people are like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, so good morning. No, not that, but really slow down. Why? Because as soon as we get in front of an audience, what happens is our nerves kick in, and we don't go that slow anymore. We take out a second gear and we throw it up into a sixth gear, and we're talking a mile a minute, and our brain is trying to catch up, and our mouth is trying to catch up, and the ums and ahs are going to come pretty quick and pretty fast. So really, really slow down during your practice, and remind yourself that when you get up in front of your audience, and maybe I call it the starting gun. In other words, a reminder that when you get introduced or when you're walking up to the lectern, just remind yourself, go slow, piano, piano, soft, soft, easy, easy, so that when you're speaking eloquently, you sound more articulate, even though you're just slowing down. You're going to see your ums and ahs slowly decrease, and again, you're not going to eradicate it. I still and ah. I'm sure I ummed and ah a lot during this presentation, and even out professionally, when I speak out professionally in front of corporations, I'm sure I still and ah. But the point is, I don't let it bother me. As soon as I realize that I'm umming and ahhing and I get nervous about it, then the motor boat's going to kick off. I'm going to and ah to death. So what I did originally is that when I did speak and I heard myself and ah, instead of beating myself up, I actually celebrated it, saying, "Oh my gosh, I did and ah. Let me slow down." Again, that was another starting gun to say, "Okay, I'll start to slow down." And really slow down and let the thoughts formulate in our minds, speak from the heart, and just let it come out naturally, really nice, easy, piano, piano, and let the audience keep up with your message, and not only that, let yourself keep up with your message. So if I had to answer that question, I would say slow down, don't beat yourself up, and when you get in front of the audience, remind yourself, go as slow as you can.
Awesome.
Wow, Kathy, I think we have him trained on this answering question thing. This is going good.
I know, he doesn't even know what we're throwing at him. So good job.
I'm a quick learner. They call me Maurice. The reason you're successful is because you're a sponge, and what that means is that I listen, I take information in, and I process it, and I use it. And again, that's a life lesson. For all of us, for all the people that are listening on Celebrity Creators, if I could share anything, how I was raised with my mom and dad, Dr. Alfonso and Nancy DiMino, they said this: Maurice, you can do anything you want in your life, as long as you're good at it. So, I just take that premise and I want to share that with people that, you could do whatever you want in the world. Just take your time, be gentle with yourself, and be the best that you can. And so be a sponge.
Beautiful.
That's it. That's my final word on that.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
All right.
And I'm not going to go to the audience for a suggestion. Is the audience down there? Is the audience down below?
They actually are down below.
Yes, they are.
Oh, hey, everybody.
That's right. That's where the chat. That's where the chat is. Right down below there. Brian, look, we're at the half of the hour. Do you want to tell everybody how we can get in touch with Maurice?
Absolutely. Good. Thanks for reminding me. All of you watching live on celebritycreators.com, and if you're not there, go to celebritycreators.com.
We just had a little hiccup.
And go to celebritycreators.com if you're not there right now, and click on Maurice's nose. He's beneath us, the still picture, if you're watching this live. Right on his nose, not the one that's moving and pointing right there. And if you're watching this as a recording, it will be above us. The recorded version, he'll be sitting up on top of us, looking down ominously. No, he'll be up there smiling. Click on that same nose, and that will take you to his Facebook page. So get to know Maurice that way in a personal manner. And we've been talking a lot about this boot camp. Ladies and gentlemen, you have definitely got to at least look into this. That banner down there, Presentations That Sell Bootcamp. Click on that and go get information about this phenomenal bootcamp that's coming up that Maurice puts on. What is it, twice a year, Maurice? This you're holding this? Cannot
Yes,
speak
twice a
higher.
year,
He's an
every
innovator.
April and October.
Pardon, say again?
Excuse me, every April and October.
April and October. Fantastic. You can't put value on what he teaches. He's an innovator when it comes to actually holding seminars. We won't give away what he did last time, but it involved everybody.
Yes.
Attendance, audience, his staff, and all the vendors all got involved in a phenomenal way. And it can only work, I think, through a boot camp that you hold in the way you hold it, Maurice. And it was phenomenal. We were all so happy coming away from that. So I can't.
And who knows what he's going to add to the repertoire this time.
Oh my.
Oh, you just got to come and see.
That's
Yes.
right. Now, getting back to our crafting of our message and getting this presentation polished and spit shine and all that good stuff. Let's say we've got our log line now. We've crafted a clear message. We know we're clear about what we want to portray. We have our verbal journey. We have crafted that as well. The body, the golden nuggets, and the close. We're good to go. Now it's time to go up on stage. But is it? First, would you recommend that someone, well, maybe practice? And if so, which I'm thinking the answer might be a yes on this, but how many times would you say one would need to practice before presenting? And in what way should they practice? Should they practice to their dog, to their mom, to their wife? I mean, what's the most effective way to practice? So
Mailman.
two-tiered, yeah, there you go. On the back of a business card, hey, I want to tell you something.
Exactly. No, again, this is a craft. One of my mentors, Les Brown, said, Maurice, you got to get out there and get up on your feet. So it's practice, practice, practice. Just to prove that adage, prior to me venturing into the professional world of speaking, I gave over 50 Rotary speeches in 1 year.
Wow.
Going throughout Southern California and just speaking and getting on the Rotary circuit, the free circuit, which is a 20-minute presentation to the Rotary Club, be it the morning session, the afternoon, or the evening. And that's what I suggest to people. When it comes to practice, yeah, get up on your feet. Be it if you want somebody live, a significant other, your pet, the stuffed animals. But what I would say is this, is that definitely pick, when you're doing in this pseudo-reality, pick where the center of the audience is, where the left and the right is. So you are looking, when you're lifting up your head, you are looking and you're definitely focusing in on a particular portion of the audience. Why? Because it all comes down to eye contact. You know, that's kind of hard to practice, in particular if you have 3 people sitting in front of you. You're just going to looking at those 3 people. What I suggest people to do is, yes, maybe have those 3 people, but also tell them that not only am I going to look at you, but I'm going to look at, you know, that bookcase over there. That's going to be my left audience. I'm going to look over here to my right at this flower vase over here, and that's going to be my audience to my right. So that we're practicing, and we're really going to focus our eye contact on various areas of the audience. Because if I could share this, I do believe that we do emanate a certain amount of energy coming out of us, and that by where we direct our eye contact, that's where we're actually throwing that energy. And if we just practicing, a lot of people just practice straightforward, or they favor one side, then we're going to lose that side of the audience, and they're going to disengage. So when we do practice, yes, I want you guys to practice, but also set up different points, and that's what I do. When I first started out, I had, you know, my front row people, I had the back row people, I had the left. I had all these different points that I would look at, and as I would deliver it, I would look at those points. And even if I had, and let's talk about this, even if I had a limited amount of space to move in, I would also, I call it the dance, I would also choreograph the dance how I would be moving. So I'd actually set up the stage. If I was telling a story, I would say maybe the left side is the past, the middle is the present, and the right side is the future. So as I'm moving along, I'm actually physically bringing my audience along on this journey, so that if I say, oh, and then this is what happened, you know, I would move this way, I would move to the future spot, and the audience would know what I'm talking about. And then the amazing thing is, if I wanted to now talk back to the audience, I would actually move back to center and say, okay, let me just ask you a question. In this story, what do you think is going on? I would have the audience interact, and then I would move back to the future, and the audience never missed a beat. So in my practice, in our practice, when our good listeners are practicing out there, not only have your focal points in different areas, but also map out your dance, the choreography, and make sure that it supports the message and doesn't distract from the message. There are 2 answers for 1 question. Bang!
You got it down, my friend.
All right. I love this video. Booyah! Mamma mia!
On.
You know what? That's really some great advice, because when you're up there, sometimes you tend to just spend time with the people who you're feeling the love from, right? I mean, that's part of, I guess, just human nature. So if you don't have that set and in place ahead of time, you're going to lose a great part of your audience. Is that right?
That is correct. And Kathy, you said something that we're going to favor the side that we're grooving with. Unfortunately, you know what? That's actually incorrect. We're going to pay attention to the people that we want to win over, that have the sour pusses on their faces, because oh my gosh, they're not listening to me. So let me really talk to them and really try to win them back, and that's a mistake. If that person's been weaned on a pickle, you just let them keep being weaned on a pickle. I want you to disengage. I call it the traffic accident theory of life. When we're driving down the freeway, when there's a traffic accident, what do? We quickly look at it and we rubberneck. I don't want people to do any rubbernecking. In other words, when you're in front of an audience, look for, and I call it the cheerleaders, look for the cheerleaders in your audience. In other words, the people who are smiling or engaging you. At least that will keep your nerves down and not getting excited about winning people over. And what I try to do is I try to find a cheerleader in different areas of the audience, so that now I'm relating to the entire audience. So now I'm not favoring one side. I'm looking here, I'm looking middle, and I'm even looking in the back, in the front. I am engaging with everybody, and the most important thing is, again, I'm engaging them with my eyes, with their eyes. So yeah, you better believe that I want our listeners out there to engage the entire audience, because here's another thing I want to share with people, is that you are contagious. Be it, Brian, you said even when we're, just talking to people one-on-one, or when we're on the stage, we become contagious, and our audience wants to make that connection. And if we don't make that connection, now I'm doing hand signs. Now, if we don't make that connection, we're going to lose our audience. So the biggest thing we could do, and here's another, this is just chock full of points. Another way to exude confidence when we're having anything but confidence and we're shaking in our boots is with eye contact. Again, we're slowing down. We're giving that adds to the confidence. By looking people in the eye, that adds to the confidence. And trust me, when I first started, I was shaking in my boots. And I never forgot when I gave my first corporate presentation. They announced my name, and I'm like, these people know more than I do. I go out talking to them. But again, I just slow down, piano, give them the eye contact. Talk like they talk. I talk to them like I know what I'm talking about. And then sure enough, they were coming up to me with questions, and then the magic was born.
You know what? And let me just kind of throw this in. Is it a good thing to be a little nervy? I mean, obviously we don't want to be too nervous, but I mean, is it good to have a little bit of nerve going on just so that we keep an edge?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Again, going back to one of my mentors, Les Brown, he says, and I asked him, I said, Les, am I ever going to get over this nervousness? Because it's driving me nuts. And he said, Maurice, you're going to hope that you never do. He says, I still get nervous, and that does give us the edge. And how I feel that it helps us, and well, in particular for me, it really, even to this day, yes, I've given over 1,500, 1,600 presentations by now. I still get nervous before every presentation, and what I feel that's good about it is that that's my body telling me or asking me, am I prepared? So I'm not going to come across and not being 100% present with my audience, not giving the content that they need, not relating to my audience, not engaging with them. So yeah, I do not want to lose that. So I don't want to come across as being lazy or not caring or not even being in the room. And you use a good word that it'll give me a little bit of an edge. It'll give me a little bit of energy. Instead of edge, let's use the word energy. It'll give me a bit of energy that when I'm in front of the audience, they're feeling that energy and I'm connecting with them. So we never want to lose that nervousness. And again, if I could help anybody out there, I still get nervous. Trust me, even before we began here, I was sweating like, oh my God, my video is not gonna be here, and I was nervous. But again, the cameras go on, they announce your name, and you're on, and there's just there is certain things we need to do to meet it. And again, the thing is, remind yourself, slow down, do the eye contact, smile, and all these little things we could do that will add a difference. That will I would say take the edge down, but not get rid of it. I like to say this: we will always have butterflies, but at least let's have them fly in formation in our formation.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you.
That's good. We were talking earlier about around 7-minute presentations. You really don't need notes. We should know what we're talking about in 7 minutes. And you also gave us the information that it's a good thing and okay to have notes. And if we need them 22 or 72 font, like I might, just 1 or 2 words will do it. But what do you think about video as part of presentations or even PowerPoint? Do you need to have those when you're doing a presentation, or is talking just enough?
Yeah, great question. Unfortunately, we do live in the MTV world. Our audience want to be entertained. So it's education and entertainment. So it's edutainment, as another one of my mentors taught me. And we want to mix it up. Remember before I said we want to keep our audience engaged?
Right.
Well, one of the new things we could do is not only how we present the information, but also can we use different things to change what's going on in the room. So one may be using an audio clip. One may be using a video clip. Maybe having a whiteboard, or having a demonstration of something, or having people get up out of their chairs and what have you. We have to change up our game. We have to change up our game. Oh, sorry, I'm getting all tripped up here. Oh boy. So we have to change up our game, and you better believe it. I'm sorry. We have to change up our game. So yeah, if we can incorporate video, audio, we see one of our contemporaries using music, taking us down memory lane and all that. So whatever we could do to change up the environment that's going on, because if there's anything that our listeners can take away is this: we want to create an experience. We definitely want to create an experience for our listeners. And I was even thinking, even when we're standing online at a coffee shop or at a supermarket, we want to change that experience. And one way we do that is we could take out our business card, or take out a flyer, or take out a postcard and hand it to them. What you're doing is you're changing the dynamics of what's going on, and not only that, you're changing their attention mode to something else, so you're re-engaging maybe that portion of the brain. So if you can incorporate videos into your presentation, by all means. But now here's a learning point: the video, the audio, the music, whatever. Again, remember we talked about that log line. Whatever you do, it has to support that log line. If you want to do it as strictly as entertainment, maybe going into a break or what have you, sure, well that supports the break because you're trying to break the tension in the room. But if you're doing a video in the middle of a presentation, well, it better support what you just said or set up what you're about to talk about. So again, it all goes back to that log line. Does the video, the prop, the audio, whatever this other element you're going to bring into your presentation, does it help and does it service your log line, or does it distract and take people down a blind alley?
Awesome. Thank you very much. We've got one of our viewers, Maurice, Neil, is asking, what if you start losing connection with your audience? What's your solution for that? That's a great question.
Well, Neil, thank you so much for that question. One of the things I teach in my boot camp is that your job as a presenter, when you're up in front of the room, one of your biggest jobs, these one of those things that you have to do, is you have to re-engage your audience. And that's what I love about my template. I teach you different ways, little, I don't want to call them tricks, but let's call them techniques. Techniques that you could do to re-engage your audience. And that's what it's about. We want to constantly re-engage your audience. So let's say you do. You're reading your audience and you see that they are disengaged. What I do, there's a couple things I do immediately. I'll say, okay, here, write this down. Or, based upon what we just discussed, how would you go about using it? Now, I would say, how would you go about using it? And I would have people volunteer answers, raise their hand, or I'd say, okay, write down what's the first thing that comes to mind. In other words, I change what's going on in the environment. If I see that I'm losing them, well, guess what? I got to reset that hook again. I got to re-engage them. So I pull out little techniques that I have up my sleeve. I may mention a few just now that I can get the audience back. Now, I think what we could learn from Neil is again, going down to the foundation, we should be listening to our audience. We should be paying attention to them. If we're just speaking ad infinitum and not caring or not listening to our audience, then we're going to lose our audience. And people say, well, Maurice, how are you listening to your audience? Aren't you the one that's speaking? Well, trust me, body language is 55% of the meaning of what's being conveyed. So I say this, your audience is yelling at you by their body language. So if you see them disengage, just as Neil made mention of, they shift their weight, they're checking their watches, they're texting, well, guess what? They're talking to you and they're saying, hey, re-engage me. So wow. Neil, fantastic question and a couple of learning points from that I hope you were able to pick up.
And I remember very distinctly another technique you shared with us at your boot camp. And I don't want to give away your whole boot camp, but you know what? This is only an hour. Okay. This is only an hour. We're definitely not going to. So I could spew everything you do, and it wouldn't matter. But one great technique you shared with us was you basically changed your position and went into the audience. Now, of course, that's if the venue allows for that to happen. If the stage isn't 5 feet up in the air and you can get down, but you would come out into the middle of the audience, right in the middle aisle, and go to those that were maybe nodding off, and their natural reaction is, oh, there's the speaker, and you wake up. I got that deer in headlights. Oh, he's here. So I remember that one very distinctly. That was another very powerful technique and tip that you gave to our audience, to us as the boot campers. Hey, boot campers, I like it. Speaking of that, I'm getting distracted. What is an easy way? We're talking about audiences, right? We were just talking with Neil. Great question. Now, you're interacting with audiences, and you're very good at it, Maurice, but you have a message to convey. What is an easy way to bridge that gap, to actually interact with the audience without getting distracted, like I just was, from your main message and continuing with the flow?
Well, I look at a presentation as going down a 4-lane freeway with guide rails on either side. I'm allowed to switch lanes. I can go any which way I want, but I'm still going down that one pathway, down that clear message. I have a definitive goal, which is to get to my close, the whole point of this. And in fact, one of the questions I ask is, what exactly do you want your audience to do with this message? And it can run the gamut of, I just want them to buy into it. I just want them to, I just want to get their email address. I want them to visit my website. I want them to buy my book, whatever it is. So again, that's if I may quote Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. So that's our journey. That's what's going to that's the end zone. So we're going down this freeway, and what's interesting is that by having a recipe, by a template, it is having these guardrails on either side, so that you can't make a hard left or a hard right. You're going to keep going down, so that when you do go off on a tangent, again, like I said, that's okay. But what's going to happen is you're going to hit that guardrail. And then you're going to realize, okay, where was I? Oh, I was on point, I was on the polling questions. Okay, so that means the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cover housekeeping. And then once I get into housekeeping, I'm going to say, okay, what's in it for them? In other words, these are the guide points, so that I'm going to be going down in a forward direction on this speech highway, on this journey, if you will. And that I guess I can get distracted. Again, I want to be able to relate to the audience. If you go off on tangents, that's fine. But you can't go way off on tangents that it confuses the audience. But again, you're doing that, again, just to borrow from Neil, to kind of bring them back onto the freeway, and then you continue on down. So if you feel that you're getting off on a tangent, wrap it up, maybe make a relating closing statement on. You could say, do you see how that illustrates my point of getting from X to Y? All right, then let's continue. We talked about why. Now let's talk about Z. Well, now I'm back. Now I'm back on track, and now I could head down that pathway of my verbal journey.
So I'm not asking you necessarily, but have you ever been to an event or watched a speaker and they just totally forgot what they were saying and actually said, I don't know where I was at?
Well, no, the reason I'm laughing is because at one corporate event, not that I forgot what I was saying, but I gave a golden nugget, and then I wanted to support it with a story. So I went into the story, and I'm deep into the story, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is the wrong story. This has nothing to do with this golden nugget I shared. And the problem is that I got so nervous, I forgot what the real story was. So I couldn't say, oh, please excuse, I'm sorry.
Just kidding.
Let me go back. Just kidding. And so I didn't know what to do. So I said, finish. Just finish. And say it with conviction, say it with sincerity. And again, I finished it. And again, by having that clear message, by having that destination, and then I did exactly what I just said to Brian before. I finished that story, and confidently I said, do you see how that illustrates the point? And the audience, without missing the beat, they go, yes, yes, definitely. Even though I told a story that's like 20 pages from now, and now I'm thinking, oh wait, now I'm thinking, okay, what story am I going to build when I get to that thing? I mean, but see, that's what I love about this. You're on, and it really it tests you. And again, if you're clear with your message, it doesn't matter what happens out there. And again, if you to help people out there, if you do lose your spot, look, you're a human being. People realize that, and they have empathy. That's one thing we got to realize. Our audience immediately has empathy for us. And if you get lost, you're not sure. My God, in my boot camp, I go, hold on a second, I just have to check my notes. Again, we get so caught up that it has to be perfect. No, I want to present this information so that you walk away with this information. If I have to search my mind for it and waste time, it's not worth it. So yes, even in my boot camp, I go, wait a minute, let me just check my notes for a second here. And I'm like, okay, I'm back on track. Let's go for it. And no one in the years that I've done the boot camp says, hey, wait a minute, you took a half a second there and you had to read your notes. You're not that professional. What's your problem? I don't know why I got all Brooklyn all of a sudden, but nobody ever said that to me. Nobody ever got Brooklyn on me.
Brooklyn.
Well, it's like Brian was saying earlier when we first started talking with you and you agreed, people do not know what it is that we're sharing. So if we miss something or if it doesn't come off quite like we intended it, they wouldn't know anyway, right?
Exactly. Just again, if I could share anything, speak from your heart. If things go astray, just say, hold on, let me get back on track here. Look again, your notes are there. If it's longer than 5 to 10 minutes, your notes are there. Just get back in it and just proceed. And if anything, don't beat yourself up about it. Trust me, your audience is with you. 99.99% of the audience feels for you. They're empathetic. Why? Because guess what? You're up there speaking and not them, so they're happy they're not doing the public speaking. And plus, you're just showing that you're human. And if there's anything that we can do is that when we do get up in front of our audience, be it one-on-one or one-to-many, is let's show each other that we're human beings and that we have these little faults and foibles and that we're just here to present our message from our heart.
Well, let me ask you something else, and this is kind of hairy. Okay. Should you, at the end of a talk, allow your audience to ask questions, number one, and the second part of that is, once you give them the go-ahead to start asking, what if somebody asks you something that you don't know the answer for?
Excellent.
Great. When it comes to questions, I really feel it's up to the presenter. So for our listeners out there, if you don't feel comfortable answering questions because you don't know what you're going to be asked, then set the parameters at the very beginning. Say, hey, look, I got a lot of great information to share with you. In fact, so much so that I'm going to take answers after I speak. See me in the back, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions. So now you're dealing one-on-one what people are used to. Let's say you do open it up and ask questions, and somebody asks you a question you do not know the answer. One or two things. What I do is I just turn it around and say, hey, Bill, that's a great question. In fact, let's ask our audience, ladies and gentlemen, who has an answer for Bill out there? Uh, the reason I do that is, again, that's another technique to re-engage the audience, to wake them up, to get them going, and also gives me some time to think about it. Not only that, as people are responding to it, I'm thinking, I'm listening, I'm definitely still listening to what they're saying to get as much information as I can as possible. So that by the middle of it, I'm like, oh, I got the answer. I'll let him finish, and I'll go back to Bill. I said, Bill, does that help? If he says yes, fine, I move on. If he says, well, no, I'm not sure, I'll say, well, let me add a few points, if I may. I'll answer the question and then move on. Well, then it begs the question: what if Bill asks a question? I go, "Hey, Bill, that's a great question. I have no idea. I have no idea what the answer is." I go, "Ladies and gentlemen, does anybody have any answers to help Bill?" Zero, nothing. Then again, we pull out the human card and say, "Bill, that's actually a great question. I don't have the answer for you now, so why don't you see me afterwards? I'll either have the answer for you then, or I will get you the answer." Bill, if you don't mind, if I could get you that answer letter, I would appreciate it. Does that satisfy you, Bill? And Bill will, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, say, "Yeah, you got it, no problem," and then you move on. So if I could suggest anything to anybody, be in control of your Q&A sessions. If you don't want to answer a lot of them, say, "Hey, we have a time to answer 3 or 4 questions." That kind of minimizes the time. So really be in control of your Q&A. After a while, you can be, "Are there any questions?" Like at my boot camp, are there any questions? I open up to the. In fact, people have as I'm speaking, if people have a question, they're allowed to blurt it out. But again, that's after practice. That comes from practice.
Beautiful. I just realized that's what he was doing, Kathy, to the first question of tonight's show. He was putting us off. He didn't know. He didn't know the answer.
I know.
Oh,
exactly.
I kid.
He just went right through it.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell. Can you believe it, Maurice? You were talking about being kind of nervous at the beginning. We have already been on for an hour.
Yikes!
Is that amazing? I find that amazing.
Is that amazing? It is. Time just absolutely flies. And the beautiful thing, when we have good friends such as you, with such an amazing message to share, not only with Brian and I, but with the viewers that have taken their time to come and share tonight. Amazing. Thank you so much. Just want to tell you, we're delighted that you chose to come. And for those of you that are playing in the Amazing Celebrity Creators Contest right now, Maurice DiMino is one of our contributors in giving away something, well, amazing. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, Maurice, thank you so much for coming and joining with us again tonight. And I'm going to turn it back over to Brian.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say except, Mamma Mia, what a wonderful show this has been. Stealing from the man himself, Maurice DiMino, the man with the golden voice. Can you hear this voice, ladies and gentlemen? My goodness. It is like the most, it's just soothing. I love this voice. I wish I could bottle it up and put it right here and make it my own. But I can't. He's Maurice and I'm not, and he never will be, unfortunately. But that's okay. We all have a message, and Maurice will help you to craft that message in ways that are so simple. Go to his boot camp, click on that banner beneath, play in the contest, enroll, which is above us. There's a contest link. You can win 2 VIP tickets to his next boot camp. So be sure to enroll now and start earning some points. It's fun. It's free. It costs nothing. Very gracious of Maurice to offer that to our contestants. And if you don't win, go to his boot camp anyway. Put forth the investment. Invest in yourself. And go to the presentations at Cell Boot Camp. You will not be disappointed. I guarantee you. We've been to 2 of them ourselves. So that should be enough right there. I would love to thank you very much, Maurice, for once again gracing our stage, so to speak, tonight. It's been far too long, but truly enjoyed it. Had a blast. Thank you so much. Just enjoyed it. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for having me back on Celebrity Creators. Always a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic.
And wait till you'll see who we've got lined up for next week, and we look forward to seeing you then.
Absolutely. Until then, next week, register on that, click on the register button, and you will get an automated reminder of that show and every show henceforth from there. These are value packs. You want to be there. But we're going to let you go now because we're over our hour, and we want to respect your time as well as ours. So have a great evening, everyone. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye now.
Good night, everybody.
Ciao.